passing on one side the old dock basin, now ringed by espresso bars and boutiques. On the other, Victorian commercial buildings, now transformed into desirable Riverview apartments. At the corner of James Street is the former headquarters of the White Star shipping line, where, one day in 1912, a company official stood on the balcony reading the Titanic's casualty list through a megaphone to the stunned crowds beneath. Broadcasting technology a century ago turns out to have been rather more reliable than today's. "Guys, I'm sorry," is our driver's opening announcement. "The bus only just came back from a service and the CD player isn't connected up yet. That means that unfortunately there won't be any music to go with the places you'll be seeing on the tour." So, out of Beetle City in silence we go, through gangster-haunted Toxteth, past the magnificent Iron Gateway to Sefton Park, along Smithdown Road where Paul's mother did her nurse's training. A turning left leads to Queen's Drive and the former family home of Brian Epstein, which, disgracefully, no one has ever thought worth preserving for the nation. "Right, guys," our driver says, "we're just coming up to a place you'll all recognise. I'm sorry there's no tape of Penny Lane to go with it." Who cares? The song rings out of collective memory louder and clearer than the purest stereo. Penny Lane is in our ears and in our eyes, even if its blue suburban skies this morning tend more towards dish-mop grey. It is arguably Paul's masterpiece, twinned with a John masterpiece, Strawberry Fields Forever, on the greatest value pop single ever released. And Penny Lane, the place, competes with the site of the old Strawberry Field Salvation Army home as Liverpool's most visited Beatle shrine. Over the decades, its street sign has been stolen so many times that the local authority took to simply painting the name on buildings. Latterly, a supposedly thief-proof sign has proved little more successful than the old type. It has always seemed the sweetest of song titles, evoking an innocent 1950s world when Britain used big copper penny coins that often dated back to Queen Victoria's reign. Confectioners sold penny chocolate bars or chews, and women did not pee but spent a penny, the cost of using a public toilet. In reality, the name commemorates James Penny, an 18th-century Liverpool slave trader. Nor is the song really about Penny Lane, but Smithdown Place, where the lane, which anyway has more associations with John than Paul, widens into a shopping parade and a terminus for several bus routes. Every topographical feature listed in the lyric is still here, for each of us instantly triggering a mental soundtrack of nostalgic piano, old-fashioned brass, or the tripping notes of a piccolo trumpet solo. There's still a barber, showing photographs of every head he's had the pleasure to have known, even if hairstyles have moved on from Tony Curtis's and duck's arses, and the shop's name is no longer Bioletti, as during Paul's childhood, but Tony Slavin. There's a branch of Lloyd's TSB, where the banker might well not own a Mac. Raincoat, that is, not laptop, and nowadays is perhaps even more likely to be laughed at behind his back. Here is the traffic island behind whose shelter a pretty nurse could well be selling poppies from a tray, and every one of us knows whom she represented. To the left, along Mather Avenue, there's still a fire station, where even now some dragoon-helmeted officer might be watching the time in an hourglass as he polishes his clean machine. In his pocket, a portrait of the Queen. Paul's and John's childhood homes lie less than a quarter of a mile apart, but in separate suburbs, whose social differences remain very noticeable. Allerton, on this side at least, consists predominantly of working-class council estates, whereas Woolton is a well-heeled enclave of industrialists, professionals and academics from Liverpool University. When John first met Paul in 1957, that distinction was multiplied 1,000-fold. On the blue minibus, after our McCartney prologue, we reverted to the traditional pecking order. First stop is Mendip's.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.